26 male, proposed to my 24F girlfriend of 6 years last month. She obviously said yes, and we've been working on wedding details, save the date/invitations, venue, caterer, etc. since. We got to talking about who we would want in our wedding because she wanted to do a special proposal to her side of the wedding court, and she said she wanted to have her best friend since childhood be her maid of honor. The thing is, her childhood best friend is a guy, 24M. They lived on the same street when they were kids and have been friends since. My fiancée and I met in college and her friend was there too, so I've known him for as long as I've known her. At first I didn't really like him because he was always hanging around her, but after she and I started dating and I was forced to be around him more, I kinda started to tolerate him. He and my fiancée saw each other a lot, but he and I have never really hung out one-on-one before. One time when we were left alone together, he tried to get all tough and did the "if you ever break her heart I swear" corny threat talk. He's a small dude, so it made me laugh more than intimidate me. After that I got the feeling this was a situation where he liked her but she didn't know. I asked my fiancée if she and him ever had feelings for each other, and she said no, then let me know he was gay. I'm not homophobic or anything, so it's not like I don't want him in the wedding because of that, it's just that I think it would be better if her side of tea party was all girls. She and him already did everything together, not including him in our wedding wouldn't hurt their friendship. I told her that and she got defensive, saying that if I could have a girl in my side of the party, the girl being my older sister who practically raised me, she could have a guy. I said that it was a different circumstance, and that I wouldn't allow her best friend to be her man of honor. She got really mad and said it was her wedding too, then stormed out. I got a text from her sister a few hours later saying she had gone to her parents' house and told them what I had said. They thought I was being an asshole because I never liked her friend and am threatened by him. I have tried to talk to my fiancée since she left, but she hasn't returned my calls or texts. I really love her, and I don't want to lose her. I just don't want her best friend to be a part of our day. Ida? Edit. It's come to my attention in a previous comment I made, I have created the world's thinnest argument. I said that my fiancée maid was unwillingly to compromise on things such as the groomsmen's neck pieces and blazers, and as such I was in the right to be unwilling to compromise about her best friend. I stated in a few other posts that there were other things she didn't want to compromise on, and someone suggested I make a list, so here it is. 1. When we were deciding our wedding date and location, she wanted to do it in spring in an open field. I wasn't on board with this as I have terrible allergies and spring is when it's at its worst. She shot down any alternative I gave her, alternatives being things done closer to summer or in summer, and said it was spring or nothing. So we went with spring too, instead of going with a DJ like I suggestion who could play a mix of her favorite, my favorite, and general upbeat dance music. She said that she really wanted a live band that specialized in her favorite genre. I asked if we could just give the DJ a longer list of her songs in her favorite genre and tell him to pick from the list often, but she said no and that a live band was going to be better. So we went with the band 3. In my culture there is a few traditional wedding ceremonies that I wanted us to partake in. Some included a kind of parade that leads the groom and his family to the bride's house where they present her and her family gifts, a hair cutting ceremony, I made sure to tell her her actual hair would not be cut, and finally a knot tying ceremony where the guests wish us a long happy marriage. She wanted absolutely nothing to do with these ceremonies, and said they would be too much time and effort, since it would be like having 2 weddings. I tried fighting for these more than the others, but she was firm on doing things traditionally. 4. She wanted the groomsmen to wear bow ties and blazers even though I wanted the necktie and no blazer look. 5. She changed the color scheme from the originally agreed upon black, gold, maroon, and forest green to pink, or I think it was rose, yellow, white, and pastel blue because the decorations would look better in the field. When I said we already printed invitations with the previous colors on them, she said we could throw those out and get reprints. Oop, the difference is I'd be having legitimate family in my party. Somebody who, like I said, has practically raised me and has been there for me since birth, who I want by my side. I know you can argue that her and her best friend are technically family with how long they've known each other, but that doesn't actually make them family. I really love her, and I don't want to lose her. I just don't want her best friend to be a part of our day. Update 1. I, 24F, was recently engaged to my 26 male fiancé after 6 years together. We got into a fight a couple of days ago because he wouldn't let me ask my guy best friend, 24M, who I've known since we were kids, be my man of honor. I ended up walking out and went to stay with my parents for a few days. I told them what happened and they agreed that he was way out of line. I went back earlier today after I thought he had enough time to calm down, and when I came home he looked glad to see me. He apologized for stepping out of line and I said it was fine and that we still had time to ask my best friend to be in the wedding. He kind of looked down then said that we should call everything off. This really surprised me and I immediately said no. He then admitted that while I was gone he posted to r/Ida about what had happened and that even though he was deemed the controlling he also realized that I was one because I had basically hijacked the wedding planning. I asked how he could think that and he pointed out how I chose to have the wedding in spring even though that's a bad time for him, and that I changed up the wedding color scheme and what his groomsmen would be wearing without talking with him first. I said that those were practically minor things and we didn't have to call off the wedding for it. Then he said I was insensitive for rejecting his culture's traditional wedding ceremonies and didn't even considering doing them. He had brought to my attention some traditional ceremonies people do at weddings in his culture, and while I appreciated him bringing it up to me, I decided against doing it because it wouldn't fit the vibe of the traditional wedding I wanted. I told him I only wanted to do a traditional American wedding and that he already agreed with me that that's what we were doing. Then he said that me having my guy best friend be my best man was untraditional. I pointed out I let him have his sister be part of his wedding party because he wanted some part of his family included, and that since he was breaking the tradition so could I. He got really sad and looked like he was about to cry and said that me breaking the tradition was like a slap in the face after I rejected his traditions, and that I just didn't respect his culture at all. That is not the case at all. I greatly respect his culture. I told him I understood how mean it sounded, but it's my wedding too, so I get a say in what we do. He kind of laughed and got up and said he wanted to take a break and left. I don't know what to do. I don't want to call off the wedding at all. I tried to find his Reddit post, but I think he was using a though granted I am too. I love him so much and I want to be with him for the rest of our lives. I don't know how we'll get through this. Oop bride, I understand where you're coming from. I'll be honest and tell you that I haven't celebrated a lot of his cultural events besides New Year's. He's Cambodian and they celebrate their New Year's in April, I believe. He and his family had a falling out after he started dating me. His family didn't approve of a foreigner, and only recently have they reconnected. His sister though was different. She didn't care I was American, and she stuck by his side as his only family member. I guess I disregarded the traditions in the first place because he never immersed me in his culture enough, because he kind of cut ties with that side of himself. I was uncomfortable with the idea of being surrounded by his family that doesn't particularly like me during the ceremonies, as both his parents and my parents would be involved. I didn't want to feel like an outsider on our wedding day. Of course I'm interested in the wedding. I've been dreaming of my own since I was a child. But I don't value it more than I value my relationship with him. We didn't get that far into the planning, but for our honeymoon I was going to suggest going somewhere he and I have always talked about going to. We would have eventually gotten to a place where more of his ideas would be accepted. Update 2. I apologize for not answering very many of your comments on the first post. The post was intended to just talk about the situation, but it quickly turned into a mini Ida discussion, which was absolutely the farthest thing that I wanted to happen. Due to the stress and severity of everything, I had to unplug. The comments and private messages were getting to me, and the messages from friends and family who caught word of the situation became overwhelming. That being said, I got around to reading the comments after a week or so, but didn't have the effort to say anything until now. A lot of you said I was controlling, manipulative, selfish, and racist. I can understand being called the first three, but racist genuinely hurt. I didn't realize my actions came across as racist, but I see now how that could be assumed of me. I don't know what to say to prove that I'm not racist, but I know that even if I did, it probably wouldn't change any minds. I've begun to research more on the wedding ceremonies, and just Cambodian culture as a whole, something I realize I should have done years ago. I promise you that the decisions I made and the unfortunately vetoed decisions from my boyfriend all came from a place that thought it was going to be best for both of us. But like a lot of you said, it was still wrong of me to completely dismiss him and his ideas. I admit I was being stubborn about a lot of things that would have been easy to compromise on. I guess I was looking at everything through rose-tinted glasses and thought that everything would just fall into place in my favor because I wanted it to. I should have heard him out more and taken his words seriously. Additionally, a few of you called me and my fiancée out for being rage baiters and even being the same person just using different accounts. I can see how that would seem like the case, since I made this account a day after his throwaway was deleted, but I promise it was just a coincidence. I created a throwaway since my main account has content that can be traced to my other socials, and I didn't want anyone harassing me in my DMs or other comment sections. I think someone also brought up the fact that this account is linked to another one that has posts about being divorced. I'm not sure what that's about. I read the Ida post that he created and, if I can be honest, I thought it was terribly done. He made his initial post about my best friend and how he wasn't comfortable with him being in the wedding, indicating that even on a minuscule level, he was uncomfortable with my friend. In the 6 years they've known each other, he has never once voiced or shown any discomfort for him. I don't know if he was using him as a scapegoat or what. His comments started to change the tune of the post and it started to become a I'm not comfortable with the guy best friend versus actually, I'm being taken advantage of type of thing. It was also weirdly done, and his comments seemed rude and argumentative. People were judging him based on the initial question as the forum intended, but then he started to tell the rest of the story to try and gain favor or something. But, I digress. Moving on to the actual update, my boyfriend and I had a talk a few days ago. He was home when I came back from work and it looked like he was packing some of his stuff. I asked if this meant that we were officially over, and he said he didn't know. I asked if we could talk about it, and he said sure. I apologized to him for how I was acting and that I shouldn't have been so controlling with the planning. I also apologized for rejecting his culture and said that I didn't do it with malice. He asked why I really rejected the ceremonies and I told him how I wasn't comfortable with his parents, since there was still tension between us. He explained that they were trying to be okay with me, but what I did just made it harder. I told him I read his post and asked if he really didn't feel comfortable around my best friend. He was kind of iffy on that, saying yes and no before saying he didn't mind him as a person, but he was still someone he didn't know. He offered to apologize to him since he figured I told him about what he said when I left to my parents' house, which I did, and I said I would appreciate that. We got quiet and I asked again if he wanted to officially break up. He said he wanted to cancel the wedding, but that he didn't want to break up permanently yet. I felt the same way, so we talked some more, and eventually agreed to go back to dating. T.S. may not be the outcome a lot of you wanted, since it seemed like you were all rooting for him to kick me to the curb, but I still love him and he still loves me. We're canceling all of the wedding plans and looking into couples counseling. And, as a promise to each other that we're going to change, he's going to make an effort in befriending my best friend, and I'm going to be seeing his family more and participating in / observing more cultural events. This is the last post I will make from this account. Now on to second story. Found an empty condom wrapper while cleaning my wife's car, sparking fears of infidelity despite our solid relationship. We have been together for about 10 years and married for 6. We have no kids now, but we were planning to start trying pretty much now. We are both very active, going to the gym, eating healthy, and are both in relatively great shape. My wife is gorgeous with a phenomenal body, but I would probably consider myself maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10 on the attractiveness scale. I realize that. But we have always had a really strong relationship. We started as great friends, realized we were just right for each other, and that developed into true romantic love and devotion. The sex was always fantastic. There were never any issues there with quality or frequency. I was washing my wife's car, as I do pretty often. In the course of cleaning the interior, I found an open empty condom wrapper under her passenger seat. We don't use condoms since she had always been on birth control. I am driving myself insane with all the stories and scenarios running through my brain. She spends a lot of time at the gym working with weights and doing her cardio. Like, 3 hours 4 days a week, so there are frequent times when we are apart. She has never given me a reason to suspect she has been unfaithful. I know I have to confront her, but I'm scared to death of what might be the truth. She is my world and I can't imagine starting a family with anyone else. I'm afraid I'm going to break. My wife has never given me a reason to think she has cheated before this. She has always been loving and affectionate, and we were looking forward to starting a family very soon. Some have speculated that kids coming soon may have led her to one last fling? I don't know. Possibly. We are an open book to each other with our finances pretty much entirely tied up as one. She comes from a pretty upper middle class background. Her parents are very comfortable. I come from a home where my parents were fighting their own demons, and so I didn't get a lot of attention growing up. Not a criticism, it was easy to get lost in the shuffle of my parents' problems. We are cordial but not super close. I am way closer to her family and I love her mom and dad and younger sister. Financially we are fine. Together we make about $150,000 per year. She makes $60,000 as a law firm assistant, I make $90,000 as an auto technician. We own a house together that we were able to purchase with a down payment from her family. If worst comes to worst, I have no interest in fighting for that money. It is theirs and they can have it back if we end up selling the house. Some have commented about the amount of time she is at the gym. We go to separate gyms. She gets off work at 4 and goes straight to the gym where she does a class, then works out with weights and the cardio on the treadmill. I was never suspicious of the time she spends there. By the time she gets home, I am already there and she jumps directly in the shower, and then we make dinner together and hang out. As far as a lawyer or an investigator, there's no way I could do that in secret with the way we manage our finances, so that's out for now. Someone explained to me how to get detailed phone records from Visible, so that's my next step. Update 1. Not a whole lot to say, but things are getting interesting. I am shaking as I type this. Thanks to everyone in the comments and the DMs for the empathy and well wishes. Lot of good tips and advice too. Man, I would hate to piss some of you off. Some of you are vindictive. First off, I found a wrapper, not an actual used condom, so the suggestion of DNA testing was not useful. And thanks to you/YouHidden027 for the information about getting detailed phone records from Visible. Today at work during some break time I requested a download of the phone records, but it says the request could take up to 45 days. I can't wait that long. I also drove by her work on my lunch break. I don't know why or what I expected, but her car was there as it normally is. Lots of good advice to track her: get a VAR, look at her phone without her knowing, hire an investigator, a lawyer, etc. I can't deal with this. I am taking the advice a lot of you had, and I'm just going to confront her today when she gets home. As some of you suggested, I plan to just put the condom wrapper on the table in plain sight and watch her body language. I am so scared and nervous I am almost pissing my pants. I am really starting to expect the worst. For me, if she cheated, there is 0 chance we will stay married. 0. I don't care what excuses or reasons or whatever she has, I am 100% done. No therapy, no counseling, nothing. I can't believe I am typing this. It makes it seem real. I can't imagine her sucking and fucking some other guy, or guys. That's an image I could never get out of my head for the rest of my life. As far as assets, we don't have a lot. We have a pretty nice house that her dad helped us pay for. I'm happy to let her have it with my fair share and paying back her father. Otherwise is bullshit, like 2 cars, some furniture and some decent savings that we have both contributed to, so I'm willing to split 50-50. The thought of divorce is burning a pit in my gut. I'll post again after I confront her. Either way, I think this thing comes to a conclusion tonight. Oop replying to a deleted comment, yes, we have toys but we never used condoms. And I can imagine she is taking care of herself in her car. Oop, no. It was under the passenger seat toward the back of the seat. The car has a very small back seat, so I can't imagine having G-sex back there, but who knows what motivated people are capable of. Update 2. Dashcam, yes, I've checked the dashcam footage. Nothing suspicious or out of the ordinary. Commutes to work, the gym and home. Maybe a stop or two for typical errands. Grocery store, cleaners. Zero suspicious activity. But she knows there is a dashcam too, so who knows? Maybe she's just being really careful. Our current state of relationship, it's really strong as far as I know. She comes home, we share a glass of wine while we make dinner together, talk about our day, cuddle on the couch if we watch a show. We really have what anyone from the outside would be jealous. No feelings of distance, no hiding of phone, and no drop off in sex, which has always been and still is great. Her gym time, with as much as she does, it is really reasonable for her to spend 2.5 hours at the gym. I've gone with her. I've seen her work out. It's pretty extensive and her body shows it. I am so proud of how great she looks and how she takes such good care of herself and encourages me and cares about our health. I've never been suspicious about it, maybe foolishly. Yes, she comes home and showers right away, but she's typically sweaty and feels gross. She doesn't avoid me when she walks in. She will typically come over and greet me with a kiss on the lips and then hit the shower. If she was just having sex with a side piece, I think she would be more discreet. We spend almost all of our time together on the weekends. Go for a jog, date nights, happy hour with friends, dinners with family, etc. She has a lot of girlfriends from work and they sometimes go out for a girls' night like once every 2 months. But again, nothing suspicious. I see the credit card charges, so I don't believe she is hiding anything. And her girlfriends are all awesome and Ove hanging out with them and their husbands, BFs. I'm torn and getting nervous about talking to her tonight, but I gotta get this over with. Update 3. This should be my final post on this topic. I took a lot of your advice and decided to just confront her tonight. Sorry for the length, but it was a lot. My wife came home from the gym about 6:45 like always. I was sitting at the kitchen table alone. She came over, said hi, kissed me on the lips and went off to take a shower pretty much like usual. I'm NGL, when she came over to kiss me I smelled really hard for any evidence of man sense. Cologne, soap, deodorant, sweat, anything. I got nothing. As she showered I sat by myself, a ball of anxiety and damn near chickened out. She got out of the shower and came into the kitchen, wet hair, sweats, t-shirt, looking beautiful as usual. She sat down like we always do and expected to chat about our day. She could see immediately something was wrong. She asked what's up. I was shaking and so nervous like you cannot believe. I asked, have you lent your car to anyone recently? No. Have you had any passengers in your car the last few weeks? She thought for a second and said no. I asked, has anyone besides you or me been in your car the last few weeks? She said no. What the hell is going on? I asked to see her phone. She looked at me weird, said okay and just slid the phone to me across the table, no hesitation, and said, what the fuck is going on? I didn't touch her phone. I took the condom wrapper out of my pocket and set it on the table. She looked at it but had no real visible reaction. I didn't say a word. After a few seconds she said, what the hell is that? I said, it's a condom wrapper. She said, it's obviously a condom wrapper. What the fuck is a condom wrapper doing on our kitchen table? She was starting to get annoyed. She is either a really good actor or she sincerely had no idea what was happening. I told her I found it under her car seat while I was cleaning her car. She honestly looked dumbfounded. She said she had no idea how it got there. She really seemed sincere and was starting to get concerned. She asked if I thought it was hers. I said, I'm not sure, is it? She said, you have got to be kidding me. You seriously think I'm fucking around on you? Are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? She took her phone and waved it at me and said, here. Please. Look at my phone. Call my sister, who she shares everything with, call any of my friends. I'm not sure what you want me to say. We sat in silence, very uncomfortable for a minute or two. I didn't take my eyes off her, looking for any sign like a tear. I said, what would you think if the roles were reversed? She admitted she would probably be suspicious but would give me the benefit of the doubt. She literally went through every day the past couple of weeks, where she went, who she was with, what she was doing, trying to come up with any explanation. She finally remembered an after-work thing that they did for a friend of hers, a baby shower kind of thing at a restaurant after work. One of the girls at her office was invited but couldn't go, and so she asked my wife to please take her gifts to the party. My wife said sure. They walked down to my wife's car to put the gifts in and my wife's stuff was in the front passenger seat. As I said, the car she drives, Infiniti Q60, has a tiny back seat and access to that back seat is ridiculously difficult. As her friend was putting the gifts in, she spilled her purse all over the floor behind the passenger seat. That was the only possibility she could think of. As I sat there, she insisted we call that friend immediately, and she did just that. She put her friend on speakerphone. She asked her if she remembered when she spilled her purse. She answered yes. She asked if she was sure she got everything picked up off the floor. She answered, I think so. Why? My wife then seriously asks, do you and BF's name use condoms? Her friend kind of chuckled and said yes. My wife asks what brand, and she answered Trojans. Same size too. My wife looked straight into my eyes and asked, when you dumped your purse in my car, is there a chance there were condoms in it? Her friend said yes, it's not unusual for me to have condoms in my purse. Why? My wife told her friend about the wrapper. Her friend said she doesn't know why she would have an empty wrapper in her purse, but it is certainly possible. She hung up the phone and looked at me and asked if I would like to go through her phone. I said no, and she asked, mystery solved? I literally started crying. I was crying because I was so fucking relieved. I was crying because I am married to the most awesome woman in the world who loves me more than anything. And I was crying because I was racked with guilt that I thought she could be cheating. I felt miserable for how I must have made her feel. My incredible wife took it so well. She hit me with her dish towel and said, Jesus Christ. I cannot believe you could think I would cheat on you. But she admitted again she may have felt the same in my shoes. She even laughed a little and said it was kind of cute that I was so jealous and nervous about asking her about it. We decided to have our glass of wine and go out for dinner. At dinner we talked about how excited we were to start trying for a baby. I am 100,000% sure she is telling the truth. I know her. I know her like nobody else. I know her body language. I know her voice and how it sounds when she is stressed or hiding something. There was none of that. I hope none of you have to go through this, but thanks for all the well wishes. I will probably let my wife read this thread at some point, but not while it's still so fresh. Plus she'll probably rib me for going to Reddit for advice. She's not necessarily a fan. Haha. So all is good. Really good. Have a great life everyone. Oop, thanks. Composure was never in Chew. Estienne. We are both pretty calm people. We rarely even yell at each other when we fight. I am not aggressive or in any way violent. There was never a chance things were going to get out of hand. Oop, shit. You were nervous?